Now, traffic estimates from the Kenyan government suggest by somewhere between 2021 and 2023, the port of Mombasa, currently the busiest in East Africa, will actually run out of room to handle more cargo, especially if cargo traffic continues to grow at present growth rates. And that's why an entirely new port is being built, some 240 kilometers north of Mombasa in Lamu, with road, air and rail links radiating from that to the Horn of Africa and the rest of East Africa as well. Earlier on, I spoke to Silvester Kasuku. He's the CEO of the LAPSSET Authority. I asked him how much all of this will cost the Kenyan taxpayer.
Look at the scenarios of with and without LAPSSET. You find that even if you don't have LAPSSET, by the year 2022, 2025, you already have demand for port services, actually stripping capacity in Mombasa. And as such, you find that the business, the logistics business that is demanding for port services in the region is growing faster than it used to do. And if you add LAPSSET to it again, you find that this growth actually outstrips capacity of existing ports, even by as early as 2021.
Let's talk about the links that radiate out from Lamu, because there are two spurs to it, right? So you've got road and rail links going straight up to around Isiolo, and then it branches out. So there's one line that comes south, goes into the SGR line that we're now building, phase 1, phase 2. But then there's another line that's supposed to go up towards Ethiopia as well. How much is it going to cost us to actually build out those lines eventually? I mean, they're not part of the current line that we're talking about now, but eventually they will have to be built. How much is that going to cost us?
We are talking about quite a handsome estimate, but it is between $5 and $7 billion if we look at building that network all the way to the borders.
What are the odds that once we've finished the central line, right, from Mombasa all the way to Malaba, what are the odds that we can actually build the remaining bits of the rail line from Lamu, Isiolo, and then the two spurs down, of course, into the central line and then up into Ethiopia with a lot less debt, perhaps even with complete taxpayer funding?
We know that there are areas where private sector wouldn't find much use with regard to investment, because maybe their funds will be tied into the investment much longer than they would expect gains.
Of course, and if I'm not getting my 20%, I'll forget it. I'm not putting money in.
That's true. And now that's where it comes in, that in areas where the private sector might not find much gain, then it is incumbent upon us as government to actually underwrite those investments, to make sure that they are done, because they are needed, necessary aspects of economic inputs into our growth factor. Now, looking again at how to lessen the debt bit of it, as you're saying, we are unveiling areas where private sector is coming in, like where they are doing PPPs. For example, the port. What the government has done, as you are aware, is that we are developing the first 3 terminals as a way of attracting private sector investors. And of course, you've seen a number of private sector investors rushing to Kenya today, coming to find out and trying to see where they can actually fit into the whole development matrix. So the port is good for private sector. Secondly, we have the special economic zones where the government might just have to do basic infrastructure alone. The rest of that investment is actually being sought by private sector. Then you look at the aspects of the road. Again, the road has an element of attraction to private sector. At the same time, due to slightly lower returns because of low traffic levels at the beginning, this might not attract private sector much today.
But has there ever been a toll road in this country that worked? Because the plan was to originally have like Thika Road, for example, that 7-lane highway, to have that as a toll road. But that plan disappeared completely under a wave of public protest.
Yes, I know why it was easy for it to disappear. Because that road is used by a lot of public, movements. And public movements, unless given alternatives, if you subject the sole network to a tolling regime, then it is bound to face the kind of resistance you're mentioning.